Yeah, I agree. I agree. I'm not sure if it will do the best as the first one, because the thing about Avatar that I think, like the VFX on it and everything was just incredible for the time.
Yeah.
And now like we've seen more of that kind of stuff, so I'm not sure if it will have the same effects on audiences, but I still think a lot of people will see it, because seeing as the first Avatar had so many people loving it, I think the second one people have to watch it, right? So Tom, do you have any opinions on this?
Tom, it's muted.
Oh no.
I mean, we've had a lot of competition this year, and I mean, it's going to have to be really good to really compete with other films coming out this year. But obviously, the first one came out in 2009, so obviously, if it grossed around, what was it, 2 billion?
2.9 billion.
2.9 billion. Then if it's grossed around that much, then obviously it had a lot of fans, and a lot of fans are going to come back to the cinema and rewatch the second one. So I definitely believe it's going to do really well.
Yeah, it is true though that it had a lot of competition this year. We've seen some incredible movies this year. Luke, I actually want to touch on that a little bit. What's the movie that you watched that came out this year that has really affected you the most?
Oh, possibly the Batman.
Oh yeah, of course.
I totally agree with that, Luke.
Yeah.
What was it about the Batman then that you think was such? Because I actually haven't watched it yet. So what did you find about the Batman that made it such like a good movie, and how do you think that the Avatar will compare to that?
I think the Batman personally had a lot of really cool like effects, like they were very up to date, and the Batman just had such a good story as well. What do you think about it, Tom?
I feel like the Batman was very different to a lot of the other films that came out this year. I feel like it really stood out from the other Batman films, because it seemed more about him, more than when you compare it to Dark Knight and Christian Bale's Batman. It went very into detail of the enemy and the villain, but whereas in this one it really detailed how Batman gets through his everyday life.
Yeah. Although
there was a lot of detail about the Riddler and all that, it really was focused on the Batman, which I really like.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually heard that about the Avatar as well. I've heard that this new Avatar is really based on emotion and stuff as well. Because it's actually a lot longer than the first one. The first one's a very long movie, nearly 3 hours. I'm pretty sure this one's nearly 4 hours. So I have heard that they're touching a lot on the emotional side and more about the characters and everything. Is that what films moving into now? Do you think they're more character based instead of action based?
In my opinion, I believe so, because nowadays in movies it's more about the characters in it. Like Morbius, for example, that's more about him, like getting his like vampire powers.
Yeah, I think that audiences like to relate to a character, and I think that when the character is portrayed as more of a person, you know, and they show more emotion, I think that people can really relate to that a lot more. So we're actually going to move into our first song today, and that is 90210.
What's poppin'? Yo, Travis.
Girl, all from the valley.
Honestly, God bless.
Who fall down? All for that. Who created Lake Tahoe? All from a
Wet like my jumper though.
who used to take the long way home, all for that. John turned the flame, now you rolling him a pill, pop him a seal, pop anyone, pop anything, pop anything to finally, yeah, to finally. In that 90210, 90210, looking for the alley. In the 90210, 90210, looking for the alley. Ooh, it's a superstar girl, roaming in that. Ooh, in the 90210, 90210. My granny called, she said, Travis, you work too hard, I'm worried you forget about me. I'm falling in and out of class, don't worry, I'ma get it, granny. What happened now? My daddy happy, mama called me up, that money coming and she love me, I done made it now. I done found like meaning now, all them days are hard to break, her heart out in pieces now. Friends turning into fraud, practicing half the passion unit. Package different. All you both the swag, you can have it. I'ma sell it. Unit salary bout to cap. Youngest nigga out of Houston at the Grammys. Smiling at him, laughing at me. I pass a rock to yeah, he punk faked and passed it back. All of this off a rabbit. Shoulda wrote this in Latin. Yeah. I know. Cause said we in the stove. Yeah, we about to drop a four. He passed a cigarette, I choke. Told my auntie, put them poles down. Now you know you love your own now. Hit the stage, they got their hands up. Don't put your nose down. I ain't knocking, nigga, I knock the door down for sure now. Whole crew, I swear they counting on me. Gold chains, gold rings, I got a island on me. Houses on me, he got them houses on him. Holy Father, come save these niggas, I'm styling on them. Good Lord, I see my good fortune in all these horses. I'm driving too fast to stop, so all these signs I ignore them. Just the sky from north to the border, my chicks is in order. My mom's biggest supporter, so now I'm supporting it.
Listening to Eclectic Radio. Playing the best music live to you, both old and new.
Hello, welcome back to Eclectic Radio. So we just spoke about Avatar. I think that was a pretty insightful conversation. I just want to touch on something a bit more of a recent news. So obviously, I'm sure we've all heard of the WNBA player Brittney Griner, who was arrested in Russia on drug charges. Well, it was actually yesterday she was released. So, do you guys have any opinions on it? Because I know I definitely do.
Yes, I do. For personally, what she did, like having drugs in Russia, where for that you can get like 9 years in prison. I believe she did deserve to go to prison.
Yeah, well, I think this is the thing that's a little bit controversial, is that it was hashish oil that she had, so it's like CBD, and so obviously that's drugs. You're not allowed to have that in Russia, and if you get caught having that in Russia, and you're a Russian citizen, you're gonna get the time in prison. So she obviously went to Russia, she knowingly had it, and she went to prison for it. Now, if you break the law in a country, shouldn't you serve the time that you're supposed to do it? Like, if there was a country where, let's say, murdering someone was legal, obviously that's fantasy, that's not real, but say that you lived in a country where murdering someone was legal, you come to the UK and you murder somebody, you're going to get put in prison for the same amount of time as somebody from that country would. So, I don't know, it's a bit of a controversial thing. There are people that have done the same thing. There's this man called Mark Fogel. He was accused of marijuana possession. He actually had it for medical reasons. But he was in Russia, and he's been in there for 10 years. He's an American citizen. He's been in Russian federal prison for over 10 years now, and America have made no attempts to free him. So, do you think that it's fair that she got treated differently just because she's a WNBA player?
Well, personally, I don't think it's fair, because she had no medical reason, so really she had no reason of having marijuana in Russia. So, her getting caught and getting punishment for like 9 years, I believe that's fair. And as like you said, the only reason she got treated differently, the reason America even bothered to release her early is because she's a WNBA player. But I don't think that's right at all.
Yeah, Tom, do you have any opinions on this?
Well, I personally believe that people that high up in the WNBA and whoever's that famous should never touch drugs, should never even risk it, because there is always a camera somewhere, and it only takes one face to see them doing one drug, and that's it, their career's over. So yeah. I personally believe, she takes the punishment, she comes out of prison, where I don't know where she's going to go to, but I believe she should lose her career over that. I personally believe that she should not be allowed back into the WNBA, or at least a 5-year penalty. No coming back into the WNBA for 5 years, and she'd have to find a new career. That's the way I see it. That's the way it should be.
Yeah, well, I somewhat agree with that. My thing is, so I think in America, the part of America that she lives, you're actually allowed to have that, and so I don't think she'll get punished for it in America. What I don't find fair is that she's a WNBA player, so America fought so hardly to try to get her out of prison, but there are people in prison in America for drug charges that are somewhat similar to that. I just don't think people should be treated differently just because of their status. Also, I mean, she was released in prison because of a prison swap. So the US gave Russia a notorious arms dealer in return for her. So there was a Russian arms dealer that was in prison, obviously for terrible things, in America, and the US basically said, we'll give him back to Russia if we get Brittney Griner back. And I don't think it's right to risk people's freedom to get her back. I don't understand that. Luke, what do you think?
Well, personally, just because she's a different, like she's a WNBA player, I honestly believe that she should not be treated differently than any other random American. But that's just me, though.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, obviously there's people in prison in other countries for doing things that break those countries' laws, and I just don't think that people should be treated differently. I think that if you want to treat somebody fairly, you need to abide by the laws no matter their status. But obviously, everyone has their own opinions, and if any of you listening have any opinions, feel free to call in, feel free to to message the show and kind of just give your opinions on that. This is Alright by Kendrick Lamar.
All's my life I has to fight. All's my life hard times like yeah, bad trips like yeah. Nazareth, I'm f***ed up, homie, you f***ed up, but if God got us, then we gon' be alright.
We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. Do you hear me? Do you feel me? We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. Huh? We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. Do you hear me? Do you feel me? We gon' be alright.
And when I wake up, I recognize you looking at me for the pay cut. Bahamas, I be looking at you from the face down. One Mac 11, even boom with the face down. Skimming, and let me tell you about my life. Painkillers only put me in the twilight. We're pretty Benjamin is the highlight. I tell my mama I love her, but this what I like. Lord knows, 20 of them in my Chevy. Tell them all to come and get me, reaping everything I sow. So my karma come in heaven, no preliminary hearings on my record. I'm a gangster in silence for the record. Tell the world I know it's too late. Boys and girls, I think I've gone crazy. Trying to side my faces all day. Won't you please believe when I say, when you know we've been hurt, been down before. When our pride was low, looking at the world like where do we go? And we hate po-po, wanna kill us dead in the street for sure. I'm at the preacher's door, my knees getting weak and my gun might blow, but we gon' be alright.
We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. Do you hear me? Do you feel me? We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. Huh? We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. Do you hear me? Do you feel me? We gon' be alright.
What you want? You a house, you a car, 40 acres and a mule, a piano, a guitar, anything. See, my name is Lucy, I'm your dog. You can live at the mall. I can see the evil, I can tell it. I know it's illegal, I don't think about it. I deposit every other zero, thinking of my partner. Put the candy, painted on the Rico, digging in my pocket. In a profit big enough to feed you every day. My logic, get another dollar just to keep you in the presence of your Chico. I don't talk about it, be about it. Every day I see cool. If I got it, then you know you got it. Heaven, I can reach you. Pet dog, my dog, that's all. Big back and chat, I trap the back for y'all. I rap, I black on tracks, so rest assured. My rights, my wrongs, I right till I'm right with God. When you know we've been hurt, been down before. When our pride was low, looking at the world like where do we go? And we hate po-po, wanna kill us dead in the street for sure. I'm at the preacher's door, my knees getting weak and my gun might blow, but we gon' be alright.
We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. Do you hear me? Do you feel me? We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. Huh? We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. Do you hear me? Do you feel me? We gon' be alright.
I keep my head up high, I cross my heart and hold you tight. Loving me is complicated, too afraid of life changes. I'm alright in your favor, dark nights in my prayers.
I remember you was conflicted, misusing your influence. Sometimes I did the same, abusing my power full of resentment that turned into a deep depression. Found myself screaming in the hotel room. I didn't want to self-destruct.
Come in from the cold this winter into Jackson's Cafe and enjoy a homemade cake ranging from £8 to £15, an all-day breakfast and brunch.
We are a dog-friendly family-run business that welcome all. Jackson's Cafe is part of a larger charity, Unity Works, that works to create a better community and future for all that are in need due to learning disabilities.
Jackson Cafe is a truly magical place, giving people the chance to live their best lives by providing much-needed skills for an independent life. But don't take our word for it. Pop down to 47 High Street, Romford to see for yourself.
That's the way every day goes. Every time we've no control. If the sky is pink and white, if the ground is black and yellow, it's the same way you showed me. Nod my head, don't close my eyes. Halfway on a slow move. It's the same way you showed me. If you could fly, then you'd feel south. Up north's getting cold soon. The way it is, we're on land, so I'm someone to hold true. Keep you cool when it's still alive. Won't let you down when it's all ruined. Just the same way you showed me. You showed me love, glory from above, regardless, dear. It's all downhill from here. In the wake of a hurricane, dark skin of a summer shade, nosedive in the floodlines, tall tower, milk crate. It's the same way you showed me. Cannonball off the porch side, older kids trying off the roof. Just the same way you showed me. You were sure if you could die and come back to life, up for air from the swimming pool, you kneel down to the dry land, kiss the earth that birthed you, gave you tools just to stay alive and make it up when the sun is ruined. That's the same way you showed me, you showed me love, glory from above, regardless, dear. It's all downhill from here. Real life, remember how it was. I'm G, Michael Jackson, all in shit. Say what up to Brittney, the shoe. Say what up to Danny. Say what up to life and my family. Running up my bikes, running up for me. Still in Granny 6. Take it easy. Give me some sweet. I might like immortality. This is life, immortality.
Welcome to Eclectic Radio. Welcome back to Eclectic Radio. So, I mean, we just touched on the Brittney Griner situation. That's a little bit of a controversial one. We've actually got another little bit of a controversial one here, and it's Kanye West. We've spoken about him every radio show so far. I think it's hard not to speak about him. He's really been in the media recently, and not for good reasons. It was a couple days ago he released a new song. It's not really been received very well. It's been he was actually banned off of Instagram for this song. Luke, can you start us off? Like, what do you think about this song? We listened to it before the show. Do you have any thoughts going into it?
When I first heard it, I thought it had a very good rhythm, but as it went on, it was starting to become more apparent that it was implying to something that is not good at all.
Yeah, I agree. So upon first listen, I mean, I think me and you both said it had a good beat to it. I mean, the song itself sounds good.
Yeah.
If you take out of context what's happening, it sounds very good. Like it's just a really well made song, and I mean it's gonna be 'cause it's made by Kanye West. But when we actually listened to the lyrics, he's really talking about the media. He's talking about what's going on socially with him. I actually want to get into a few lyrics that he said, because these are some lyrics that we picked up. He speaks a lot about someday we'll all be free.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you think this could have anything to with him being released from Adidas, him being released from Balenciaga? I actually saw a clip. There's a lot of controversy going around Balenciaga right now. I actually saw a clip of him. I think it was unofficial. I don't think it was an interview. I think it was just somebody that was speaking to him, and they were secretly recording him. And he actually said that, like, he's very happy to not be having ties with Adidas, having ties with Balenciaga, and he's a free man. So what do you think that this line, someday we'll all be free, do you think this could have something to do with him being released for them companies, Luke?
Possibly, yeah. Like, it's not really a coincidence that after he's finished his ties with both of them, that he put this in his new song. I don't think it's just a random coincidence.
Yeah, 100%. So Tom, have you listened to the song?
Yeah, I have actually gave it a listen, and I've got a lot of thoughts about it. I mean, it's a brilliant song, first to say. I think the start of it is absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
I think it has that really soul to soul, sort of feeling. But I feel like if someone said, I want old Kanye back, he'd show you that. And it's a shame for him to release such a good song at the end of 2022, and his career's going down. So it's really upsetting, really. But I feel like the meanings behind the lyrics are everyone will be free at some point, and I think it's a way of him presenting how he is free. He can say what he likes, obviously after what he said on the podcast. I think it's just a way of him saying, look, I'm free. No Adidas, no Balenciaga, none of the others, or whatever he's lost, he's free. So that's the way I see it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely apparent that he thinks that he can really do whatever he wants now, especially because he doesn't have any ties with any big brands. I mean, another line was, "'Cause the headlines, why you want to leave? You knew I follow God, so you should follow me." So he's saying that everybody, I mean, I interpret that as he's saying that his fan base, everyone wants to leave him now because of what they see in the headlines, but that they should follow him because he follows God. Do you think, Lee, that this might be a way of him saying, like, this is what God wants him to do, and, like, he's just following what God wants him to do, so everyone should follow him, and that you really shouldn't listen to the headlines?
Yeah, because when you put that in a song, especially, it's like the thing with the other lyrics, like "I'm free." It's implying to what's just happened in the headlines that everyone wants to leave him, and he says, "I follow God, so you should just follow me." That's what he's implying to as well. Yeah,
another lyric that actually really, I mean, as soon as we heard it in the song, I kind of said, is he said, "I'm pulling up in that white OJ." So, I mean, that sounds like a pretty innocent lyric, right? But I think what he's saying is that, like, the world kind of holding him accountable for what he's done. He's kind of, it's like he's in court. Because, O.J. Simpson, when he came into court, he was wearing those white gloves.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what he's referencing, and I think he's kind of saying that it's as if he's in court because he keeps getting questioned about all of these things and everything. And he's kind of comparing himself to O.J. Simpson in a sense. I just think that a lot of the things that he's saying in the song, although they seem quite innocent and everything, I think that when you actually listen to the deeper meaning, you start to understand that this song has intentions behind it that are not just to make music. Like, he actually references the tweet that he put. He said, tweeted DEFCON, now we pass through. I interpreted that as that obviously he's tweeted about DEFCON, and now he's passed 3, like he's passed 3 strikes basically, and now he's been banned from everything and everything. I mean, he's had more than 3 strikes, honestly, hasn't he? Like, he's had a lot of controversies, and I think in this song, I kind of see what he's tried to do, but I don't think there's any coming back from what he's said.
Yeah, like, since he's done so much in, like, the recent months, like, he's probably never gonna come back to what we used to know him as. The old Kanye is now gone. We have this new Kanye that's just nothing, really.
Yeah, I think he's definitely taken it too far. He was known for kind of speaking his mind and everything, and I think some people really respected him for that. But I think he's really taken it too far with the kind of stuff that he said. Tom, did you hear the sample that he put at the end of the song?
Was it him talking about the uniform?
Yeah, it was from the right wing podcast that he did with, I think it's called, his name is Alex Jones.
Yeah, well, that we know what uniform he was talking about, don't we? We all know what uniform he was talking about.
Yeah.
That's very strong. Never in my life have I heard a celebrity almost as big as him say anything out of this world, or so outrageous on a podcast like that. I mean, he said he likes Hitler.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all he has to say. Nothing about the uniform. All he had to say was that, and then he expects people to follow him. unless people swing that way and are into Hitler and all that, then they can swing that way. But honestly, that is just, I don't know. People are surprised that he's lost money with other businesses such as Adidas, but then says stuff like that and people are still surprised. But anyway, yeah, he said that, so his career's over, basically.
Yeah, I think especially because that clip obviously went viral and everything, and instead of like trying to back himself and maybe say that he didn't mean to in that way, I mean, he's really just leaning into the fact that he believes this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he literally sampled it on his new song. He didn't actually say the part where there's a lot of things he loves about. He said on the podcast there's a lot of things that he loves about the Nazis and about Hitler, but he actually samples it in his song, and he says there's a lot of things he loves, and he repeats that. I just think that it's terrible. Like, he doesn't realise the way that he's affecting people, the things that he says. People are still really affected by this. I actually saw a clip of this American news reporter who was Jewish, and he was on the news broadcast, and he was getting quite emotional about it. He was showing pictures of like his great-grandfather, his grandfather, his grandparents, and kind of just showing that like those were Jewish people that were killed by the Nazis, and that what Kanye West is saying, it seems to me like he feels that he knows the weight of what he's saying, but he needs to realise that this was a real thing that happened, and you can't use that to make a social statement. Like, there's real weight to what he's saying, and it really like can affect people.
Yeah. There's a way to do it, but he's taken the wrong way, basically.
100%, and yeah, I think just before when he was saying a few things, I could still see him as like, oh, he's still Kanye West that I liked, but honestly, he's taken it way too far now, and I have to say, last podcast we were talking about if we still feel guilty listening to his music. I do feel a bit guilty listening to his music now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that will take us on to our next song. This is 237.
I swear Paris what we pray for. Unreleased off-white to the ankles. I'm in the places that you can't go. Don C, Nego in the same row. I swear Paris what we pray for. I need Casablanca by the caseload. Just in the mangoes. I'm a model now, baby, got the face for it.
Hey yo, I rock you no lashes. On the runway in my coat fashion. Anybody move, I'm toe tagging. My 327s was blessings, leather Vuitton vests. Keep a loaded firearm and Mercedes arm lessons, low stressing. 22 with grades, 25 left in the cage. I told him hold your head, it's worse in the grave. I threw coke in the pot, watched it bloom, residue and consumed. It started waving, had a light and dope spoon. Try to kill you for your recipe. My shooting nasal drip flowing heavenly, ducking my third felony. Take your shine, 2 for 5, me and mine's running from suit and ties. You say you the flyest, then who am I? Balenciaga with the hell. Lemonade, a popular drink still. With long jeans, jacket rockin', so be real. Overpass, I'm too exquisite. On the dance floor, trying to finger on every visit. Something to never risk it. Hopping in BMs and proud of moccasins shit. They never had a pot. Body Porsche on Cavalli dishes on my Holland in the drop Porsche while in my loafers crocodile styling. I be having greater visions. You can tell by the way I whip it. You getting money, then the haters with it. It ain't dry, told them wait a minute. Praise Pope for the way I did it.
I swear Paris what we pray for. Unreleased off-white to the ankles. I'm in the places that you can't go. Don C, Nego in the same row. I swear Paris what we pray for. I need Casablanca by the caseload. Silks with the oranges and the mangoes. I'm a model now, baby, got the face for it. I swear Paris what we pray for.
I'm from an era of hard knocks and quiet storms. Rap songs about crack rocks and firearms. In the stash spot on some money mission. Adjust the AC, conceal the biscuit. It's your life, you can choose to risk it if you wanna. Cats don't want smoke, they want some marijuana. I used to get kicked out of class just for my aroma. I went to school high, forgot to pick up my diploma. It's way back when we used to cipher Arizonas. Now I'm in that Maybach, I'm with Puff and Hova. We been in corners in the 6 deuce. Talk about last night's $10,000 bottles of Patron, sip it like it's juice, homie. How could I lose? That these fools will do to be in my shoes. I'm done playing by rules. Learn from OGs, I'm retiring the jewels. Everything's plain Jane, different day, the same thing. I mean, it's usual. Everything that's new to you will be the type of I'm used to. I could give a about the hate I'm used to. If it's me, then know the feeling is mutual.
I swear, pray for. I'm released off white to the ankles. I'm in the places that you can't go. Don see me go in the same road. I swear Paris what we pray for. I need Casablanca by the caseload. Silks with the oranges and the mangoes. I'm a model now, baby, got the face for it. I swear Paris what we pray for.
Feeling good. Everybody say yeah, yeah. I'm all that king and cow. When I walk in, ring the bell. Roses at my feet, kneel, yell. Glitter on my neck, match the glitter on my fingernails. Always got something to say, well, them same guys was mighty till they got the ducking. We got the pucks and we chucking. They playing chicken, we clucking. I'm Colonel Sanders to you mother. Trash and we dumping. I've been rapping and he's 6'5", I'm a munchkin, and we speed to the disco. This car came with a driver, I'm in the back playing frontin'. I ain't crying, the wind is flying, stop making assumptions. I ain't lying or nothing. Yes, I'm so happy. I turn nothing to something, skin glowing, my head nappy. My health good, my mama good, my too when they only wanna have good times like Josh Safdie. We eat good, long way from Mac's Burgers, long way from that Metro bus taxi service, long way local gangs tried to taxidermy. Run until our mother backs was burning. But anyway, the short and the socks hot, and the emerald shine and them GQs and them pop pies. And I spy with my private eye that you tried. You cannot pull this look off.
I swear Paris what we pray for. I'm released off white to the ankles. I'm in the places that you can't go. Don see me go in the same road. I swear Paris what we pray for. I need Casablanca by the caseload. Silks with the oranges and the mangoes. I'm a model now, baby, got the face for it. I swear Paris what we pray for.
Welcome to
Eclectic.
Eclectic Radio. Welcome back again to Eclectic Radio. Obviously, we just touched on the whole Kanye West situation and everything. Just kind of our opinions and our thoughts on that. I think another interesting topic that Tom actually brought up earlier was that, like, Photoshop and all like the Adobe kind of programs should be free or at least cheaper. One, so that more people can get into it, and also they're very unrealistic if you want to afford that and you're not like, you haven't already got a lot of money and there's not really much alternatives for it. So Tom, do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, thank you. So I feel like there's a lot of creative minds growing up. Obviously there's loads of kids that always want to colour and create all these big things, you know. I feel like schools aren't pushing it enough and aren't allowing kids to present that. I've just left secondary school and so has Harvey, and I'm sure he'd agree with me here, but there was a lot of a few creative subjects such as music, maybe a bit of creative media, but there was never the Adobe apps. They were never there. I never saw After Effects, Photoshop, Illustrator, any of the others, Acrobat, Lightroom. I never saw, or InDesign. I never saw any of them. So what I feel like should have happened, or should happen in the future, I feel like government should make these free and not just hand out the licenses to certain people, which I've managed to get myself. They should just make them free for every student, every college, every secondary school, so people can open their minds up more and see more into the industry and how it works. But I feel like they're holding it back quite a lot due to money, obviously. And I feel like it's wrong. Luke, what do you think anyway?
I personally think that they should at least make it either free or a bit cheaper, because, like you said, Tom, there's a lot of creative minds and they don't get the chance that they do because it's just too much money. Schools and all that just won't pay for it. Like there's like so many people that want to use like After Effects or Photoshop to like do something creative, but they just can't.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in school, I didn't even know these things existed, and I mean, I've always had a love for this sort of stuff. But I mean, if I didn't know that, I mean, I actually found out about this on like the college open days and everything. If I never knew that these things existed and they were available to me at this stage, then I don't think I would be on this course doing this right now. And there's just so many people out there that would love to do this and would excel in this, but just don't have the funds. And have you also thought about, like, obviously on our college course right now we're doing creative media, obviously once we leave, because like we have access to them now free of charge in the college, but once we leave and we want to do this, let's say for a career, we have to fund them ourselves. And like how hard do you think it will be to progress to the next stage of your career when you have to, like, for all of the Adobe programs? I think, Tom, you touched on that. How much was it for all of them?
It's £51 a month for every single one, but if you just want one on its own, it's £20.
Yeah, so say that you wanted to have every single one of them. That's over, what, £600 a year, I think, or over 500, definitely. It's very unrealistic to be able to afford that, and not everyone would be able to do that and like really develop their skills, and that could be something that kind of takes the creative industry down a bit, because due to how expensive it is, people aren't going to be getting into it more. Luke, do you think that without free access to this, do you think that you would still be on this course?
Oh no, definitely not, because without access to this, I won't be able to do anything good. I would possibly be on some other course that I won't even like as much. Like when I was in secondary school, the closest thing I did to a creative thing was drama.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I did art and I did music for a little bit as well, but they just don't compare because they're creative.
Sorry, go on.
Oh, they're creative subjects, but like for the creative industry, if you want to be an animator, you want to be a VFX artist, you wanna be an editor, sound design, like you need to be using these programs, and if you're not taught them at a younger age, then you're just not gonna be able to get to a professional level, I think.
I have something to say as well. Like we have them for free now, but we don't have access to these at home properly, so we can't really develop our skills on these.
Yeah. So, Tom, I think you said that the government, you think they should give Adobe Creative licenses at the least to everybody.
No. They are giving licenses at the minute, which I've been lucky enough to get one somehow. I joined the course late, but I've got one, but you guys haven't. So I managed to use. I can use After Effects and Photoshop at home, but I don't feel like there should be licenses. No, I feel like they should just make it free, just everything for students. All you have to do is put in a student email address, put in a student password, and then you're in. You've got your apps. No license needed. Nothing. It's free for every student. Because it's not only the creative courses that need it. When I was in IT originally, before creative media, we used Adobe Dreamweaver, which is for coding and making modern, responsive websites. But that was fun. But it's everywhere, you know? And I feel like it should be free for everyone.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I think that this can really follow on. We can kind of lead into a question of like how different do you think that the creative industry is going to be in the future? Because I mean, people that wanted to get into it maybe 10, 20 years ago, they might not have to be spending all this money on all of these things. So if younger people want to keep up with at a professional standard and they have to pay this much money, there's obviously not going to be enough people that are going to be able to do that. So what does this mean for like the future of the creative industry, Luke?
Well, if it keeps going the way it is, spending so much money, I feel like more people will be turned off by just the really high prices, and not like it's expensive just to get one, but if you want all of them for like a year, that's so much money down the drain. And since once you get out of like college, or if you don't have a job, you can't pay for these.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if I wanted to do this as a hobby and I wasn't at this college, I would definitely not be able to afford that. And so I think that for people that want to get into the creative industry, if they're not on a creative course, then it's going to take a lot for them to be able to get good at these programs if they're not able to use them. And I know a lot of free versions of these sort of apps. They're just not at the same standard as the Adobe ones. So, yeah, I mean, we all have our opinions on that. Is there anything else you want to add, Tom?
Well, if kids in secondary school don't have access to it now, then they won't want to use it in the future, maybe. If they just get little tasters, they'll be like, okay, yeah, I wouldn't mind using that in college. Whereas us three, coming into college, we had no idea about it, and we've been lucky enough to get to settle down with it and deal with it, you know, and use it and get used to it. But we've enjoyed it. Whereas kids, they might not want to test it. They might want to be like, oh, that's too much. Whereas they get little tasters in secondary school in a nice environment, they'll be like, yeah, this is easy. I can get used to this. Whereas we've just been put straight in. This is After Effects. This is Photoshop. Deal with it, you know.
Yeah, I completely agree. Because if these programs are still like very expensive in the future, then you're going to see in the creative industry people that can afford it and people that can't afford it. So the creative industry, that will be that unbalanced of people that have money and people that, you know, like there's certain industries where like you really need money to get into it. I don't really watch a lot of F1. I don't know if you guys do, but I do know about that like everyone in F1 is very rich because you have to be rich to get into it, you know. So in the creative industry, I would hate for there to be this kind of class divide in the creative industry because I know I'm not rich, but I was lucky enough to get on this course, but there's so many other people that just don't have that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Oh yeah, go on.
Also, if everyone could get free Adobe licenses, not only would they be able to improve their skills, they can also like do some stuff in like their own time, like do like short little films or something like that.
I mean,
yeah, it's fun, isn't it?
Another kind of side that we need to touch on, though, we have to touch on Adobe's side of it. If the government or if Adobe was giving out these programs for free, how would Adobe make their money? Like, you need to think of the business side of it as well.
Well, for people who aren't in school, still sell it to them.
Okay, yeah.
But for people in college, because people in college will want to have it outside of college. When I leave college, I definitely know I'm going to have it.
Yeah.
Because although I might not be in the creative media industry, I never know I might do, I will still want it. Because you can use it for anything. People will always want it. If they get a little free taster and they enjoy it, they will want it outside of college. Or after college. Because I know I definitely will. I don't know if you will, Harvey. I know you will. I know you will.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely would, but if I have to pay for it, I definitely know that right now I'm currently not in the financial situation to be affording those sort of things, especially in like the rising economic climate. Like, you know, like just people aren't in the kind of situation to be able to afford it, and I would definitely hate for a passion of mine to be kind of destroyed just from the price of something.
Yeah, at the moment it's kind of a second thought thing. A lot of money would go into bills and more important things. It's something you think of second, isn't it? It's not something you put first at mind, like, I want to get that.
Yeah.
Because of the financial crisis right now, it's not something that people would want to buy. So maybe make it free for a little bit, and then when the financial crisis is over, make it so people have to pay for it outside of people who aren't in education, you know?
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually, because if you make it free for a certain amount of time for people that want to get into it, then if they can develop their skills, because say you're working a 9 to 5, trying to provide for yourself whilst trying to develop your skills creatively on these different programs, you're just not going to have time. So if it was free for people that want to get into it, then once you can really make a career, get yourself steady on your feet, then you can afford to pay for it. You know, I think for me, I would 100% want to, because something that's very important to me is doing something as a job when I'm older that I really enjoy. Like, I want to be doing work every day that I really enjoy, and that's the exact reason that I took this course. So I'm sure no matter what happens in the future, I would have to figure out a way to be able to get access to these programs, and hopefully that would be made easier for people like us who want to do it as a job.
Another thing I was going to say, though, it's an example, but, well, it's got nothing to do with well, it has sort of, really. Obviously, video games, Call of Duty, let's just make that as an example. They do free weekends where anyone can play for just one free weekend. Anyone can download, hop on and play. And then when it goes, they can pay. They can pay if they want to. So it's giving people a chance. People probably think, oh, it's just letting people play with their friends for a weekend. But no, it is just a whole big brand deal, isn't it? It's letting people test it out. If they love it, they'll buy it. That's what After Effects should do.
Yeah, that's true.
What Adobe should do, sorry.
I'm sure they have some free trials, but for a lot of people, I think once you're done a free trial on these programs, that if you want all of them, you need to pay £51 a month. That's so much money. Like, you know, like, you can give people a free trial, but that's still very, very expensive for all of these Adobe programs. And I hope that something changes, because I think in the future we will definitely see the creative industry kind of take a beating from this, for sure.
Yeah.
I think I'll bring us on to our next song. This is Fear by Kendrick Lamar.
What's up, family? Yeah, this your cousin Carl, man. Just giving you a call, man. I know you've been having a lot on your mind lately, and I know you feel like, you know, people ain't been praying for you. But you have to understand this, man, that we are a cursed people. Deuteronomy 28 and 28 says, the Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart, See, Tommy, that's why you feel like you got a chip on your shoulder.
Why God, do I gotta suffer? Pain in my heart, carry burdens full of struggle. Why God, do I gotta bleed? Every stone thrown at you, resting at my feet. Why God, do I gotta suffer? Earth is no more, won't you burn this mother?
Folks and girls, push the wall once and fret. First I go, if I'm in the church, then I'm going to fret. But I go. First you don't fit up, me right now, I'm in here. First I go. If I'm in the church, then I'm going to fret. I beat your you talking back. I beat your who bought you that, you stole it. I beat your if you say that game is broken. I beat your if you jump on my couch. I beat your if you walk in this house with tears in your eyes, running from poo-poo and Prentice. Go back outside, I beat your blue. That homework better be finished. I beat your the teachers better not be about you in class. That piece of better not be wasted. You eat it all. The TV better not be loud if you got it on. Them Jordans better not get dirty when I just bought them. Better not hear about you on Keisha's daughter. Better not hear you got caught up. I beat your you better not run to your father. I beat your you know my patience running thin. I got boo-boo payments to make. County buildings on my trying to take my food stamps away. I beat your if you tell them social workers he live here. I beat your if I beat your twice and you still here. 7 years old, think you run this house by yourself? You gon' fear me if you don't fear no one else. If I can smoke fear away, I roll that mother up. And then I take you first. Now. Life's a pull 'em to the side now.
I probably die anonymous, I probably die with promises. I probably die walking back home from the candy house. I probably die because these colors are standing out. I probably die because I ain't know DeMarcus was snitching. I probably die at these house parties. I probably die from witnesses leaving me false accused. I probably die from thinking that me and your hood was cool. Or maybe die from pressing the line, acting too extra. Or maybe die because these smokers are more than desperate. I probably die from one of these pats and blue badges. Body slammed in black and white paint, my bones snapping. Or maybe die from panic, or die from being too lax. Or die for waiting on it, die cause I'm moving too fast. I probably die trying to bout at the apartments. I probably die trying to defuse two homies arguing. I probably die cause that's what you do when you're 17. My worries in a hurry, I wish I controlled things.
If I can smoke fear away, I roll that mother up.
Now.
When I was 27, I grew accustomed to more fear. Accumulated 10 times over throughout the years. My newfound life made all of me magnified. How many accolades do I need to block denial? The shock value of my success provokes in me. All this money is God playing a joke on me. Is it for the moment and will he see me as Job? Take it from me and leave me worse than I was before. At 27, my biggest fear was losing it all. Scared to spend money, had me sleeping from hard to hard. Scared to go back to Section 8 with my mama stressing. 30 shows a month and I still won't buy me no Lexus. What is an advisor? Somebody that's holding my checks just to me over and put my finances in debt. I read a case about Rihanna's accountant and wonder how did the bad girl feel when she looked at them numbers? That type of that make me flip out and just some, drill some, get ill and feel wretched with a little some. My practice running from fear, guess I had some good luck. At 27 years old, my biggest fear was being judged. How they look at me, reflect on myself, my family, my city. What they say about me reveal if my reputation will miss me. What they see from me will trickle down generations in time. What they hear from me will make them highlight my simplest lines. I'm talking fear, fear losing creativity, I'm talking fear. Fear missing out on you and me, I'm talking fear. Fear losing loyalty for pride, cause my DNA won't let me involve in the light of God. I'm talking fear. Fear that my humbleness is gone, I'm talking fear. Fear that love ain't living here no more, I'm talking fear. Fear that is wickedness or weakness. Fear, whatever it is, both is distinctive. Fear, what happens on earth stays on earth, and I can't take these feelings with me, so hopefully they disperse within 14 tracks, carried out over wax, searching for resolutions until somebody get back. Fear, what happens on earth stays on earth, and I can't take these feelings with me, so hopefully they disperse. Within 14 tracks, carried out over wax, wondering if I'm living through fear or living through rap. Damn.
Damn you, damn me, damn us, damn we, damn us all.
Verse 2 says, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities. So until we come back to these commandments, until you come back to these commandments, we're going to feel this way. We're going to be under this curse because he said he's going to punish us. The so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians are the true children of Israel. We are the Israelites according to the Bible. The children of Israel, he's going to punish us for our iniquity, for our disobedience, because we chose to follow other gods. That as a man chasing his son, so the Lord thy God chasing thee. So just like you're chasing your own son, he's going to chasten you because he loved you. So that's why we get chastised. That's why we're in the position that we're in. Until we come back to these laws, statutes, and commandments and do what the Lord says, these curses is going to be upon us. We're going to be at a lower state in this life that we live here and today in United States of America. I love you, family, and I pray for you. God bless you. Shalom.
The mod era is back better than ever with the new Royal Alloy scooters, styled just like the original Italian Lambrettas of the 60s and 70s, but with new modern technology to withstand all weather and take on any journey for years to come.
Dutton scooters began during COVID just outside of Brentwood.
Is now relocating to Crineham, Essex, just behind Balloons by Wonderland. We look forward to seeing you. Welcome to Eclectic Radio. Alright, once again, welcome back to Eclectic Radio. Tom's left, so me and Luke now, but I just have a couple of questions, Luke.
Yes.
I feel like we've talked a lot about some topics on here that could be maybe seen as controversial, maybe something that has some strong opinions behind it for a lot of people. I kind of just want to get into another topic that I've been thinking a little bit about recently. Do you think that like digital technology is making children's lives better, or do you think that it's kind of making them worse? I'll let you touch on this first.
Well, it depends. Like, I see lots of really young kids on like technology and stuff like iPads, iPhones, etc. And it can be good and bad. It can be good because there's like a lot of learning apps on those, and you can learn on there. But bad because they're not really communicating with anyone. Like their communication skills and social skills are going down the drain.
Yeah, I think in a way you could definitely say it's making it better, right? Because there's more entertainment and everything. It's just when I see people, like, I see like really young children like in prams and stuff on the bus, and they'll be crying and their parents will just like hand them a phone. And they'll watch it and they'll stop crying and stuff. And I understand why the parents are doing it, because obviously if there's a way to make your baby stop crying, you're going to use it, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I had quite a good childhood, and I mean I didn't have any technology when I was younger. Obviously we had like a TV, but my childhood was just going out and doing things.
Yeah, same.
And I really think that if I was to have children when I'm older, I would want them to have a similar sort of experience, right? But is it kind of at the point where it's kind of impossible not to introduce your children to this sort of technology because it's everywhere you look, and when they're older they're going to have to use it? So like, where do you think that you can find that balance between not introducing them too early to technology so it doesn't take over their lives and stuff, but also introducing them early enough that they can, when they're older, keep up with the way the world's moving.
Yeah, I believe you should introduce them into like technology when they're like 7 or 8, because then they're still really young, but they're not too young to like have their lives taken over by technology.
Yeah, I agree with that. So when did you like get your first phone? Let's say.
When I was 8, but it was like one of those like old Samsung phones. It wasn't like a Samsung phone now.
Oh yeah, I mean I had a flip phone when I was like younger, just to like, cause I would go out with my friends to like the forest and stuff.
Yeah.
When I was like 7, 8, and so I think I had a flip phone just to call them, like if I needed to. But you couldn't do anything else on there. It was a very old phone.
Yeah.
And that was literally just to contact my parents. And not once did I really care about having like an iPhone, the latest technology, because my life wasn't like all about that, you know. I think now younger children are being introduced very young, you know, and because they know about phones and everything, like they're gonna want one, right?
Yeah, it's kind of impossible for them to not know about like new technology when it's everywhere. Like take it for example, my younger cousins, yeah, like one of them's 5 and the other one's 7, yeah. They've been introduced to technology relatively early in their lives.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think it's an interesting topic because you have to find that balance between. I think if they're introduced too early to it, there becomes like I know it's kind of a strong word, but kind of an addiction forms, right? There are kids that literally can't function without having a phone, without watching YouTube, without doing all this stuff, and like I don't want to sound like a really old person here, but I think that in a lot of circumstances it's better to introduce them a little bit later, but at the same time, because I can like refer to my childhood, but at the same time, when I was a kid, the world wasn't fully just all technology everywhere. Like when kids get older, they're gonna have to be in this world where they're working with technology, around technology, and they need to know what stuff does and everything. And so Luke, you're still very young. What are you, 18 years old?
Yes.
So I hope you're not going to be having a kid very soon. But I would ask you, if you were to have a kid, what age do you think feel comfortable giving them like a phone?
Probably when I started, about 8. But even then I'll give them like a lesser phone. I'm not going to give them like the best quality phone. I'm just going to give them a phone to use to like call me or something.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's that safety aspect where like you kind of need like a phone or something to keep you safe when you're out on your own. I just think it's a bit of a confusing topic because there's a lot of different aspects that you can kind of take out of it, and yeah, I don't really know when I would give my child a phone. I think that's something in the future that will be a pretty important thing to think about. I have another topic here. It's in the future, do you think people will still have to be smart or knowledgeable? And like on just the basis of that kind of sounds like a bit of a confusing topic, I feel. But kind of what I'm trying to get out of that is, do you think that with the rise of technology and like how much, like you can literally open up your phone, open up Google, find out anything that you want, do you think in the future people are still going to have to know things? Because all of the stuff I learnt at school, like I could learn history at school, but if now I was asked a history question and I needed to know it for some work I'm doing, I'm going to search it up, even just to be double sure. So like I feel like a lot of the stuff that I learnt when I'm younger, because I can just find it out now, it's not relevant to me anymore. So do you think that maybe the education system will change? Because is there a point of teaching kids all this stuff when there's a calculator app on your phone, there's Google that you can search up anything, when you're spelling things on like a Word document, there's autocorrect?
Yeah.
Like, do you really think you still have to do that?
I still, well, personally, I still think you have to do that, but since our lives are like have these like as you said, we've got Google to search up anything. I feel like if you just like ask a kid like, when is Donald Trump's birthday?
Yeah.
They're just gonna look it up. They're not gonna like find it in like a textbook.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's something like how much of the stuff genuinely that you have learned, like let's say secondary school. You've been away from secondary school for 2 years now, right?
Yeah.
The stuff you learn at GCSE level, is any of that stuff relevant to you right now? Like, is any of that stuff that you learn, are you still using on a daily basis?
No, not really.
And if you needed to know that stuff, would you refer back to, let's say, your books that you have at home? Would you go and read your work that you've done, or would you just look it up on Google?
I'll just look it up on Google because it's way easier.
Yeah, I think, like, look, time's very precious, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I get that for a kid you need to teach them things, but I do feel like the education system will change because I think kids are going to need to know how to use technology. In the future, I feel like kids are definitely going to need to know how to use technology more than they're going to need to know, like, the name of, like, the prime ministers and stuff, like past prime ministers. Like, there's going to be things that are more relevant to people. And I just think it would be a very big change because I know in my secondary school, the technology they had wasn't, like, great. We had computers, but that was literally it.
Yeah,
same. We weren't taught about all this stuff. Tom actually brought up a great topic earlier on in the show where he was talking about Adobe and, like, the creative licenses and how we weren't shown Adobe programs. And I think actually in the future the school will change, I feel, because I feel like it will have to kind of keep up, because if jobs are going to be really dependent and focused on how people are with, like, technology, then I think that people are going to have to learn more about technology.
Yeah.
This is our next song. It's Tell 'Em by Coach Rise.
Yo, what am I saying?
Yo, gorgeous, what am I saying?
Yeah, turn me, but turn me, yeah, but turn me up, but turn me up, yeah, but turn me up, but turn me up, yeah, but turn me up, yeah, but turn me up, but turn me up, Who you fooling? What we doing? What we doing? Call up, bro. What we doing? Hey, what we doing? Okay, shawty adding up. I want her friend. I might pull on in a bin. Tell her what's up. Tell her what's up. Tell her it's on. Tell her it's on. Tell her what's up. Tell her what's up. Tell her it's on. Tell her it's on. Tell her what's up. Tell her what's up. Tell her it's on. Tell her it's on. Tell her what's up. Tell her what's up. Tell her it's on. Yeah. But turn me up. But turn me up. But turn me up. Turn me up. Better turn me up, better turn me up, better turn me up. Let's go. I tell my shawty we lit, pull up with sticks, me and my we hit. It's like making me sick. Okay, shawty in my head, I don't do no red. Told her hop up in this, heard that
Fed in my system, coming to my head. In this life of mine, I just wanna see you dead. Making all this money on my body. Yeah, everything I do, I keep a profit. Go, 'cause I like tryna. Man, what you talking about? Meet me outside tryna mosh pit. Bro, I got the stick tryna blitz. Body on the ground, it's a wig split. Yeah, right around the town with a cooler kid. Yeah, they can f with me, the chopper hit your block. Oh, talking, we f around and get your pop. Yeah, pick him up and throw him, watch his body drop.
Capping, biting, blink, sticks, mix, chips, dips, whatever. Baby, I'm getting this cheddar. Now it don't matter the weather. I'm in it go like a header. I think he made me better. I should shorty, come and get it, yeah. 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 Turn me up, 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 yeah.
Tell
Tell him what's up. Tell him what's up. Tell him it's on. Tell him it's on. Tell him what's up. Tell him what's up. Tell him it's on. Tell him it's on. Tell him what's up. Tell him what's up. Tell him it's on. Tell him it's on. Tell him what's up. Tell him what's up. Tell him it's on.
Get it? Text a message, I don't know the number. Flexing on these niggas, every bone and muscle. Steady taking shots, never hurting them. Even then, y'all don't worry nothing. And I like to give a shout out to my niggas with the game plan. And shout outs to my niggas with escape plans. 20 bands, rain dance. We can either rain check or we can make plans. Pockets loaded, rocket loaded, can't let's rock and roll this. Time to go, lock, stock, and two smoking barrels locked and loaded. Diamonds glowing, chop, climbing on them. You think I'm jumping out the window, how I got them open. Line around the corner, line them up the block and over. Sometimes I even stop the smoking when it's time to focus. My shade, Dior, my pants, below. Create, explore, expand, concord. I came, I saw, I came, I saw. I praise the Lord, then break the law. I take what's mine, then take some more. It rains, it pours, it rains, it pours. I came, I saw, I came, I saw. I praise the Lord, then break the law. I take what's mine, then take some more. It rains, it pours, it rains, it pours. Yeah, I sold the pack, the loose, the hard. Yeah, I listen to X, I beat the bars. Yeah, snakes, the rats, the cats, the dogs, the games, a trap, protect your heart. Yeah, I waited in line, return, refine the new design. It's time to shine, to shine, to shine, to shine, to shine. I hustle, I flex, the world is mine. So please believe, allow degrees. These disease don't speak, we squeeze. I make the devil go weak, the knees. You hate, you're lame, you lost. I came, I saw, I came, I saw. I praise the Lord, then break the law. I take what's mine, then take.
Welcome to Eclectic Radio. Okay, thank you guys very, very much for listening to Eclectic Radio. I've been Harvey Webster.
I've been Luke Morley.
And obviously we had Tom on the phone. Usually it's all three of us every week. Fridays 10:30 to 12. And yeah, our Christmas episode is next week.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited for that one. So yeah, thank you very much for listening. And I think we're going to leave you with the news.
You're listening to Eclectic Radio. Here is the news. I'm Luke Morley. A landslide on the motorway in southern Brazil has killed at least 2 people and left dozens missing. A torrent of mud fell on the BR-376 highway in the state of Pereira, hitting more than 21 vehicles. Authorities said rescuers are currently at the scene and it is hoped that more survivors can be rescued before more rain falls later.
The number of people in hospital with the flu has jumped by 40% in the past week, according to official figures. An average of 482 patients a day were in hospital with the flu last week, compared to 444 the week before. Adult norovirus cases also jumped by more than a quarter, with 157 beds taken up each day last week, up from 126. Norovirus is often called the winter vomiting bug because it makes patients very sick for a short period.
In football news, Declan Rice has indicated that he wants to leave West Ham by speaking of his ambition to win trophies and play in the Champions League. The England midfielder has no intention of extending his deal and he is expected to be sold for a big fee next summer.
Britain's car theft capital has been named as Romford in East London, taking the mantle from neighbouring Ilford, which has earned the unwanted crown last year. The locations with the worst record for stolen motors were identified by analysing the numbers of motorists per area who reported a vehicle pinched in the last 5 years. Thank you for listening to Eclectic Radio. You're now up to date with the newest news.
That's the way every day goes.
every time we've no control. If the sky is blue,